Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name is Sterling, and I'm your host. Events move pretty quickly in Canada right now with the House of Commons closed and MPs running around all over the country. One guy has resigned and decided to run as mayor of Halifax. Justin Trudeau is walking around saying all kinds of ridiculous things, refusing to go to the Stampede this year. However, everywhere you turn, they still keep talking about how they're making Canadians' lives better with daycare and dental care, which I don't understand the logic. Those are very narrow needs, right? He said they'll say, "Oh, we have 400,000 people have signed up for dental care." Okay, but there's 40 million, so you're talking about a very small percentage of people, and you're talking about a very small percentage of people that have children under the age of 5 that require a daycare center, because anybody over the age of 5 will just go to a school. Now, I don't know why they keep repeating it. I don't know who they think they're fooling with that kind of narrow messaging. I can appreciate that there's no homeless people out there right now saying to themselves, excellent, I'm homeless or my rent is through the roof, but it's okay because if I can ever afford to have a baby, I'll be able to do it I'll be able to pay the daycare, the school, $10 a day. Now, before I get into this, I just want to encourage you to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell, share this channel with your friends. Okay, so I'm going to open with a breaking story on the Toronto daycare operators reduce wages. They cite lack of funding. Now, let's remember that every time we turn around, the Liberal Party is talking about how they've made $10 a day daycare and it's saving lives and it's making things wonderful and it's improving the standard of living of Canadians. Now, you and I, if you're a regular listener to this channel, you know that I don't believe that these narrow, focused ideas are going to improve the lives of Canadians. I don't think for one second that spending taxpayer dollars on these kinds of things is somehow going to improve the standard of living that we experience as Canadians, or the degradation of the standard of living that we have experienced over the last 10 years is not going to be reversed. But the Liberal Party swings with it. They keep saying it. I heard Justin Trudeau, he did a news conference today, and of the 6 questions in a row, he managed to slip in daycare and dental care. 6 questions in a row. It was boring as... Anyway, this one is talking about how a major Toronto daycare operator that's part of the $10 a day national daycare program is reducing wages to around 200 of its staff members because they're out of funding. They don't have any money. And there's another daycare in Toronto, another network of daycares that says they're digging into their bank account, into their savings to keep the daycare afloat. So we can see that the modeling of the federal government is not good, that the money is not there. Now what they'll try and say is, okay, well, we're going to just increase the amount of money that we're going to send to you. But that's still coming out of the pocket of the mother whose child is going to the daycare. Increasing taxes is not the solution. Increasing taxes on people who don't even have children in daycares is absolutely not fairness and is 100% not going to improve the standard of living of Canadians. Now, I understand that looking after children is important. I understand it so much that I say to myself, do you really want to leave your children with people who are operating their schools on a shoestring? Do you really want to leave your children with people who are hiring people who will work for the least amount of money? I tell you that the maternity system is backwards in this country. I'll do a video on it specifically. But for now, I just want to go on to the next story. Okay, so on this next story, I cannot believe the clown world that we're living in and the amount of people that are in positions of power that have absolutely no idea what they're doing. As many of you know, Toronto has a pride parade. It's one of the largest pride parades on earth. It brings in millions of dollars to the city of Toronto. However, there has been a lot of problems with the Toronto Pride and the Hamas supporters, because apparently they're not, the Pride people are getting money from the TD Bank, and the TD Bank has investments in things that the protesters, the Hamas protesters, don't agree with. Before I elaborate on that, I just want to let you hear this absurdity for your own self when the far left clashes with the far left. So let's just take a listen to this quick report, and then I'll give you a couple of things that I think are just ridiculous.
This is where Toronto's Pride Parade came to a premature end on Sunday, with a group of pro-Palestinian protesters blocking the route, demanding that Pride Toronto end its, quote, complicity in genocide.
No pride in genocide! Free!
Refusing to move unless Pride Toronto agreed to their demands.
TD Bank is invested in General Dynamics. It makes arms for Israel that are supporting this genocide. And Pride Toronto refuses to even discuss this question.
Gary Kinsman left Pride Toronto in April.
You will have a number of people who don't really know anything about Palestine, who've never really heard about it before, will be really upset.
Do you think that there will be a lot of people at the Gay Pride Parade that haven't heard about Palestine? Or do you think that they're just people at the Pride Parade that know that? Well, let me ask you this question. Where is the Palestinian Pride Parade? Where is the Palestinian Gay Pride Parade? And what route does it follow?
Rather than have a conversation with us about the demands, the executive director, Kwadwo Modoste, marched past us and decided to cancel the parade.
This person is demanding that someone talk to her, covered in, I mean, you can't even see what she looks like. How much pride are you taking in your position? How fearless are you being when you need to completely and utterly mask what you look like? And then says it's shocking to her that the guy wouldn't speak to the terrorist and submit to the terrorist demands.
That pushed forward all of our struggles, including around Palestine and against the police.
Asked in demanding that Pride Toronto respect its community's demands to remove the Toronto Police from all Pride Toronto matters and affairs.
Excellent idea. So if I understand you correctly, on the one hand, you're an oppressed culture that is living in fear because you have certain sexual preferences. On the other hand, you think that the downtown Toronto is the place that you should not have any police protection, which I find completely bizarre. I also find it strange that you would say that you don't want any police involved in the Pride Parade. Of course, this is the Hamas supporters saying that they don't want any police down there. This spits in the face of any of the police officers that happen to be in the LGB, wouldn't you think? Or do they have to sort of put aside their identity just to please the Hamas supporters? I mean, the absurdity, the ludicrousness of this entire, you can't even make it up, right? So the one guy is in the Gay Pride Toronto, then he decides that he's going to leave because they won't do what he wants over Hamas. Then they run in front of the parade to make it stop, like there's some sort of stop oil protesters or something. The guy who runs the parade says, well, this is the second half of the parade. It's 5:30 at night. Forget it. We're done. We're just going to go home. And they, or went to the bar, went to the party, whatever they do, because the nightlife after the Gay Pride Parade is quite a show. So they just left them sitting there in the street, and Hamas got mad that the Hamas supporters got mad that they didn't, make a big fuss, that they didn't stop and talk to them and listen to their quote unquote demands, her words, not my words. And I just think that if these guys were serious about supporting Hamas, what they should do is collectively fly to the Gaza Strip, walk out in front of the Israeli tanks and all of the Israeli army and put up their protest signs. I just feel like that would probably be more effective than talking about a parade that would in all likelihood never be permitted to run in Palestine. So this next story is wild. Trudeau has decided that he's not going to go to the Calgary Stampede. The Calgary Stampede draws in like hundreds of thousands of people every year. It is a staple in the life of Albertans. And Trudeau has decided that he's not going to go there this year for the first time. I mean, he didn't go during COVID, but otherwise he likes to go there, put on his cowboy hat, and probably puts on his cowboy boots. And as we can all remember, he likes to flip pancakes. Horribly, nonetheless, he likes to flip them. I don't imagine he's ever cooked anything for himself in his life. He probably had staff his entire life. However, he has decided that he's missing the Calgary Stampede this year. though he's not really saying why. I think that you and I can come to a conclusion that he just realizes that going there will only get him mocked and ridiculed. I think that he's concerned that people will start to chant the F Trudeau song that is running around the internet, and they may very well say more than that. I think that his desire to avoid southern Alberta speaks a lot to how he feels his position is and how strong he feels he is in Calgary, because this is not an Edmonton riding, this is a Calgary riding. And the NDP mayor that's in Calgary is on thin ice. They've already tried to have a recall on her election. The water damage that's going on. She took all of the infrastructure money so that she decided that people can just rip down their houses and start to throw up high rises no matter what the neighborhood is like. Southern Alberta is running into a lot of political issues. And how does the far left liberal deal with this? Does he run in there, tackle it head on? Does he worry about listening to the concerns and the voices of Canadians? Nope. No, he's not going to do any of that. He's not going to go in there, face all that problem, see all those people. He's just simply going to avoid that like it was a bad dinner or a bad smell. He's simply going to avoid Southern Alberta. He's going to avoid one of the largest rodeos in the world. He's going to avoid one of the largest, simply the largest rodeo in Canada. I can't think in my mind what it might be. And honestly, if I'm completely candid, I don't believe that he's doing it because there's something more important. I just don't think that he feels he's going to get a warm welcome, and he can't handle that. And I realize that you all probably agree with me on that, but I think it's worth saying out loud that the caliber of a leader is not being able to go where people love you, but to be able to go where it's hard. The caliber of any human being is to face what's hard, not to accept what's easy. And it's telling that the leader of this country, who's always running around talking about how the country's not broken and there's all of these positive things happening, is avoiding this major cultural event. Speaks volumes to the kind of person that he is. Okay, now staying with Trudeau, he made an announcement today in Montreal from a hockey rink, which I find ironic because his party has come out against hockey rinks and air conditioning. But he was there making some announcement about how they're improving everything. I don't know. I wasn't listening too much to that. I did want to hear how the questions were staged around his party not wanting him around, and how every single solitary question that they asked him, he steered back toward daycare and dental care. Some of the things he'd said were pretty interesting to hear, though, so trigger warning, this goes on for, probably 50 seconds.
Growing the economy with greater investments from around the world. These are the things that we need to continue to focus on as Canadians are facing challenging times right now, and we will continue to do that. Let's be very clear. Last week's by-election loss, not to sugarcoat it, was challenging. Was something we need to take seriously, and we've been engaged in lots of important conversations. I've had lots of calls with different members of caucus from across the country, not just in the GTA, to talk about how we make sure we're continuing our work connecting with Canadians, to make sure we're continuing to deliver for people. There are, as always, a range of perspectives and voices within the Liberal Party, and listening to all those voices and giving them all time to engage is really, really important. And that's what we've been doing, what I'm going to continue to do while we stay focused on delivering for Canadians.
Now, he said those things in relation to talking about how the Liberal Party, the caucus wants him out. And some of the MPs are saying that they will not run again if Justin Trudeau is leader of the party. Clearly, he's going to go. There's no way in the world that they will allow Justin Trudeau's ego or the WEF overlords to decide that the sitting members of regions that are long entrenched in Liberal politics will somehow be permitted to run away, to remove themselves from politics. So we can see that they're clearly their house is falling to pieces, and how long till he decides that he's going to give up the pressure, I'm not sure. I find it interesting, again, I will mention that it's in stark contrast to him always telling the press that he's thought about quitting 100 times, and especially when he was having the problems with his wife. Now, this next statement will blow your mind. I'm telling you right now, you cannot make this up.
There is a challenge faced by democracies all around the world right now. Whether we look at what's going on in France, whether we look at the election in the United States, whether we look at any democracy around the world where we are seeing increasing challenges to people's well-beings, greater anxieties, an erosion of democratic principles and rights.
Imagine the tone deaf you have to be. See, what he said there is that there's an erosion of people's rights and people's anxieties and people's standards of living because the far right or the right wing of political spectrum is winning in France, and clearly Joe Biden is not qualified to run the country. So who's going to vote for the guy when he can barely remember where he is at any moment? And I'm not trying to mock him. I'm just letting you know that the population in the United States of America is heavily in favor of whoever's not Joe Biden right now. It doesn't matter about the fact that it's Trump or not Trump. The idea that they're going to re-elect the Democrat is what I'm saying. They're not going to do that. And all over Europe, the right wing is winning political spectrum because people are unhappy with the socialist ideas. However, to Justin Trudeau, that means because you don't agree with his political spectrum, it's an attack on democracy. Yes, he froze your bank accounts. Yes, he stifles the news. Yes, he refuses to talk to anybody that's not part of his clique. Yes, he provides the questions to the news. But somehow you going to the right wing is a destruction of democracy. However, the story now is that if you don't vote far left socialist, somehow you're attacking democracy. The same far left that takes away rights, left, right, and center, that removes your right to support anyone that they don't agree with politically, that removes your right to talk to them if they don't agree with you politically, that does everything anti-democratic that can possibly be conceived. The man cannot have written that line on his own. And if whoever wrote it, he shouldn't have said it. It's unbelievable. All right, I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you all for listening. I'll talk to you next time.